All right, let's jump right into today's explainer. We're looking at a modern educational pioneer who is doing something pretty incredible. He's successfully bridging traditional Indian knowledge with cutting edge 21st century pedagogy. When we think about the future of education, we usually assume it's this massive tug of war, right? Like we're holding onto our classical roots on one side and racing toward a tech driven future on the other. It feels like a strict binary. But today we're diving into the work of Dr. Trilok Nath Pandey, a man who literally proves you don't actually have to choose. You can be deeply rooted in classical tradition while actively building the exact classroom of tomorrow. Before we start listing off his many accolades, we really need to understand his anchor. Dr. Pandey believes education is, at its core, the awakening of curiosity. In our fast-paced world, it's so easy to treat education like a simple data transfer, like teachers are just uploading information into a student's brain. But he argues for something so much deeper than that. He's out to shape enlightened human beings, putting the focus on compassion, creativity, and character just as much as textbook facts. Keep this philosophy in mind as we look at the sheer scale of his accomplishments, because this idea right here, it's the engine driving his entire approach. Moving into our first section, the Renaissance educator, spanning academia, media, and innovation. So most professionals are totally content succeeding in just one arena, right? You pick a lane and stick to it. Not Dr. Pandey. He's simultaneously heading a department at Calcutta Boys School, lecturing at St. Xavier's and Vidyasakar College, and working as a senior journalist for the Hindi Samagya Dainik. This is huge because it means he isn't operating inside an academic bubble. He's cross-pollinating ideas all the time. He takes high-level pedagogical theory from teacher education colleges, applies it directly on the ground with young students in Kolkata, and then discusses the broader implications publicly as a journalist. That kind of continuous feedback loop is incredibly rare in education today. Next up, shaping modern classrooms, the future of pedagogy. The crucial takeaway here is how actively he's driving the integration of learner-centric pedagogy into everyday classrooms. If you follow education policy at all, you know the National Education Policy 2020 is a massive paradigm shift in India. But, well, having a brilliant policy on paper is one thing. Actually turning it into daily practice, that's where most systems stumble. Dr. Pandey acts as that vital bridge between government theory and actual student success. By utilizing things like Bloom's revised taxonomy and competency-based education, he's making sure students are developing real-world skills, critical thinking, and emotional resilience, rather than just mindlessly memorizing for the next exam. Now, think about this for a second. A traditional Hindi literature scholar is the one guiding educators on the absolute cutting edge of artificial intelligence. It's a real game changer. This perfectly illustrates how forward-thinking he is. He gets that to properly prepare students for tomorrow, educators have to lean into the tools of tomorrow. He doesn't shy away from the disruption AI brings. Instead, he researches it, writes about it, and maps out both the massive opportunities it presents and the very real ethical considerations it brings to the modern classroom. Which brings us to our next area, empowering through workshops, scaling the impact. Over 550. That number represents the sheer volume of national workshops, seminars, webinars, and training sessions Dr. Pandey has successfully conducted all across India. I mean, he isn't keeping his innovative methods locked behind the doors of his own classroom. He's a genuine force of nature, traveling and broadcasting his insights so that thousands of other teachers can elevate their own standards. He helps them feel confident navigating this constantly shifting landscape of modern education. And this impact isn't just limited to a narrow niche of academics. You know the saying, it takes a village? Well, it literally takes an entire ecosystem to educate a child. And Dr. Pandey is addressing every single pillar of that ecosystem. He speaks directly to students, runs capacity-building programs for teachers, hosts parenting workshops, and even trains educational leaders to steer their institutions. Plus, he's doing all of this in collaboration with massive, trusted organizations like UNICEF and top educational publishers. That level of institutional partnership, it really proves his methods are highly effective and trusted at the absolute highest levels. Moving on, let's look at tradition meets tomorrow, the dual worlds of Dr. Pandey. It's this exact duality that makes him so incredibly effective. On one hand, you have a published poet with a double MA and a PhD in Hindi, a master of literary criticism who is deeply, deeply invested in preserving classical Indian knowledge systems. But then on the other hand, you have an AI integration expert, a total champion of competency-based learning, and a modern curriculum designer. It's fascinating. He proves to the traditionalist that you don't have to fear the future, while proving to the tech enthusiast that you absolutely cannot abandon the profound cultural anchoring of language and literature.
And yes, the exact same man preserving ancient literary traditions is also the voice you might hear on a Samsung commercial. It's wild. Beyond the classroom, he leverages his eloquence as a bilingual voice artist and journalist in both Hindi and English. He translates his educational philosophy to massive mainstream audiences on platforms like All India Radio and Doordarshan. This is honestly a masterclass in modern communication. He knows exactly how to grab an audience's attention, hold it, and deliver a message clearly. These are the exact skills that undoubtedly make him an incredible teacher and a highly sought-after voice outside the walls of academia.
And that brings us to our final section today, a philosophy of enlightenment, recognition, and vision. Now, these aren't just trophies from a single echo chamber. We're seeing validation across entirely different disciplines here. We're talking everything from the Telegraph Literary Honor for his poetry and critical writing, all the way to the Teacher Innovation Award from the Sri Aurobindo Society for his modern classroom techniques. This incredibly diverse recognition proves that his holistic approach is leaving a profound, multidisciplinary impact. Peers and institutions across the entire country are basically rushing to acknowledge the work he's doing. Ultimately, everything Dr. Pandey does roots itself in a very unique vision of language. So often, we just view language as the piping that information flows through, right? Just a delivery system. But to Dr. Pandey, language and traditional knowledge systems are the foundational tools themselves. They are what build our intellect, our emotional intelligence, and our rich culture. By mastering language, we don't just learn how to speak, we learn how to think critically, how to feel deeply, and how to connect meaningfully in an increasingly complex world. So, we've seen how one educator uses his voice, whether that's in a classroom, on a national radio broadcast, or through rigorous policy implementation, to bridge our rich traditions with an AI-driven future. The question now becomes a bit more personal. In a world that is completely obsessed with the next technological leap, how will you use language to awaken curiosity, compassion, and creativity in your own world? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.